Welcome. I'm a Comcast employee. I usually stream on Twitch, but I want to try to make more supplemental content. So we're going to be doing a Shadow Steel Rebellion card review. Now, these are all the Shadow cards we'll be talking about. I'm not going to do the full set, though, because that's a lot of time and it's a lot of effort and a lot of stuff. And we're like 2 days out from the expansion. So we have the full reveal. So the TLDR of this expansion pretty much is that Shadow got a lot of control support. Now, this is like kind of uncommon because with Omen and Ultra Sphere, a lot of it was like mixed, but for the most part, it was mid-range support. So I'm really excited to see these types of cards, and I'm very excited for this expansion. So starting off, I was going to quickly talk about the rating scale. So like 5 is, as you can see, 5 God tier, 4 powerful, 3 will see play, 2 able to see play, 1 no one like the one of tech that you're gonna lose to 100% of the time, at least one game ever. And then, of course, 0 being complete shit. I want to point out tiers 3 and 2 are kind of the ones that we're really going to be focusing on because, in my opinion, the ideal power level card should be around 3.5. So, in other words, to give these ratings more like cards, right? 5 is Cerberus to me. 4, we're looking at like a Lady Grey, right? 3.5 is like a Belinus, like something that's really high quality, will always see play, and it is just a good card, but it's never like ridiculously powerful. It's never too much for the most part. 3 will see play would be a card like Osiris, something that's powerful, but at the same time, like it's still, some decks will cut it, some decks won't, stuff like that. 2, able to see play. This is more like the tech level, so we're taking a look at like Plague City. 1, the one that no one expects, probably Plague City. Plague City again, because that's Plague City. And then 0, complete Garbo is like Zealot of Silence. So let's go ahead and get down into it. Soul Steal, 3 play point bronze Shadowcraft spell. Deal 4 damage to an enemy follower, and Burrow Right, draw a card. So, like, I was thinking about this on stream, and that, like, this card honestly is good mana value. 4 damage for 3 mana is pretty acceptable. The issue is that most of the time 4 damage is overkill, and that spending 3 mana on dealing 4 damage feels kind of overpriced. Of course, the Burrow Right card draw is nice, but the deck you're probably going to be wanting to run this in is some sort of control value Shadowcraft. So when you have a control value Shadowcraft, Burrow Right sucks because you're killing off a card you usually don't want to kill. So that's where I'd say this card is really difficult to use in that sense. However, at the same time, it also has great ability to, neutralize the board and progress your card draw. So this is kind of a mixed feel card. Like, the way I've described it is you're never going to feel good playing Soul Steal, but at the same time, you're probably still going to play it. So I give this card a solid 3.2, 3.25 in the sense that it is definitely able to see play and probably will see play, or like maybe on the cusp of that. I think some decks will try to run this as an alternative to Fron, but for the most part, it's just going to be, it's not like a feel-good card, but it's certainly a card that people will take a look at running. Shout outs to the card art. This is some beautiful card art, especially for a bronze. Love this card art. And I'm actually low-key excited to see what type of person this is. We may see this character in future cards. So it's interesting. Next up, we have Ghoul. 2 play point 1/1 fanfare. If the allied follower is in play, destroy that follower and then draw 2 cards. If it's a Machina follower, gain 1/1. So D-Meter has returned. Woohoo, congrats. We've all been avidly waiting for her return. Only it's in a really nasty looking motherfucker. Yeah. All jokes aside though, drawing 2 cards feels nice. Arcus is going to love this card. And then for the most part, like, Shadow has really needed card draw. Like, the most rotational meta Shadow decks have been pretty lackluster in terms of card draw. They've been, as I've called them, they have the negative aspect of aggro where they're looking for top decks for the most of the part. And then they have the just overall feel of just kind of random, like you are just looking on top decks. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. So that being said, I'm gladly welcoming Ghoul. I think this is obviously a card that will 100% see play. It's powerful. It's going to get you card draws. And at best case, it can be a 2/2 D-meter, which is amazing. And at worst case, you're looking at a 1/1. The other thing is that this card can also kill off a ghost, which we have been seeing a lot more ghost energy. So I'm kind of excited to see more of that type of play. So overall, this card's definitely good. Will be run. And Shadow kind of continues its long strand of having these powerful bronze that aren't actually that bad. So I think Ghoul's a solid 3.75, right? Definitely will see play. Could even go up to being like extremely powerful because of the potential to gain 1/1. Overall, 100% see play. Good card. Ghost Rider. 2 play 0.22. This is Shadow's rendition of Enhance 7 and then also Evolve Synergy. Enhance 7 gain 3/3, summon 3 ghosts. During your turn, whenever an allied follower evolves, summon a ghost. So Ghost Rider is definitely one of the weaker Evolve Synergy cards, but she's certainly not that bad. The Enhance 7 is really poor though. I think the Enhance 7 stands out as being especially weak. Not to mention it has like negative synergy if you're trying to do some series combos and try to get Ghost Rider to evolve with on a Gremry turn. That's going to kind of mess up with Gremry. However, of course, the summoning the ghost is not, like when evolve is not that bad, especially because you can usually have it to get enhanced clear and then maybe even synergy with Ghoul and such. The thing about Ghost Rider though still is like, as it's a 2/2 body, which is solid, but you have to have it on the board. So this is kind of a hard card to understand in my book because the ghost has a lot of synergy with the class of, like, you know, killing a follower, drawing cards like soul conversion, for example. But at the same time, that also costs mana to do. So if you're playing very close to your curve, it may be kind of difficult to tempo out a 2/2. Get the evolve and then use the ghost to try to kill to like get a good amount of value off. That being said, I still think this card's definitely playable and is definitely, you know, you can work with this card. Like it may not always like be the star of the game, but it will also help you in a more controlling environment. So definitely pretty solid. I'm going to give it a 3. I think this card will see play, especially in a control-y Shadow, but it honestly, depending on the meta, this card could definitely dip down to like a 2.5. But I think it will always have the potential and has the ability to see play because of the during your turn whenever allied follower evolves. Like that's pretty sweet. But at the same time, of course, you know, you do need synergy. Like you need to be on the board. So effectively, this is like a weird Dark Conjurer, and the logic is that Dark Conjurer saw play. So even in an aggressive or even like in a mid-range deck, so I'm sure decks will try to squeak into Ghost Rider. I'd be surprised if they didn't. So again, overall, while even though this card's kind of like a lower power card, and a little spoiler, one of the lower power cards in the entire like Shadowcraft reveal for this, it's still not a bad card. You can still definitely play this, and worst case, this could be a substitute for like some other later on cards. Like this is a workable card. I like it a lot. Next up, we got Bone Drone. Everybody was talking about this at the beginning of the expansion. A 4 play point 3/3. Fanfare and last words, summon an assembly droid. So Bone Drone is a fantastically powerful card when you actually consider first its stat line, right? Technically it's a 5/5 because you get the 1/1, the 3/3, and then you know the extra 1/1. So 5/5 worth of stats is juicy. So effectively, this kind of comes out to be a better Buffalo Bones. The only issue, though, is of course it loses flexibility. But more importantly, there's a lot of Machina synergy, or at least a little bit with Aenea and other cards like that. So, and then obviously the shadow count as well. So while it is, you know, still weak to banish, there's a lot of plus sides about this card. So it's definitely a powerful card in my book. I think this card will 100% see play. It's like pretty simplistic in the sense that you get more mechs, and the biggest thing is you also get the whole Russian doll effect, right? Where if they break Bone Drone, you get an extra 1/1, and then you can combo that with cards like Cerberus or even cards like Ghoul, right? So no matter how this card, like even really, I'd say regardless of the meta, I think this card has a solid chance of seeing play, and that's just in rotation. I think in Unlimited, this card is actually going to be pretty nuts because if Catacombs can see play as a 4-mana card, I'd be surprised if Bone Drone can. So overall, I think it's actually a really high quality card, a solid 3.5 for me. Definitely will see play, and it's right at that crisp power level. Now, I think one of the issues of it is it can be banished, but otherwise it has some great synergy with the list or like with the rest of the cards, and then also, I mean, the name Bone Drone, amazing. Not a bad card, definitely. So next up we have Deadly Dreamer. We're moving on to the silver. So 2 play point 2/2. Last words, put a Deep Dream into your hand. And Deep Dream is a 3-cost amulet. Countdown 3, summon a ghost. At the start of your turn, summon a ghost. So to cut to the chase, if you get Deep Dream, you're getting a total of 4 ghosts. And honestly, the thing I like about Deep Dream as an amulet is that fact that they go into your later turns. Like, these ghosts kind of continue forward, right? Because assuming you're able to play this out on 3, you get a ghost on 3, a ghost on 4, a ghost on 5, and a ghost on 6. These kind of, I think, can aid a lot of great, or not non-great, but there's a lot of kind of lower power evolutions, even with Sierius, right? And it also can allow for better trading, for card draw, for even Franz. If you don't want to kill the 0/1 body, you can kill the ghost. There's a lot of utility with the card like Deep Dream. The question is obviously what type of meta will we be in, and there's a lot of that kind of vibe of how much can you use the ghosts. I think this card's similar to Haunted House, which was 1 play point, and whenever a follower dies on your turn, summon a ghost. The only difference is that you get a guaranteed ghost every turn. So cards like Soul Conversion and even cards like Sonata of Silence have reasonable value here. So Deep Dream, or I guess the Deadly Dreamer / Deep Dream combo, I think is a pretty powerful and again, definitely will see play, I think. In a control shadow, which is kind of the vibe you get a lot from this. It's the heavy value. This also helps you cheat a 3. So it helps you cheat that Fron if you don't want to play it and you're trying to hit maybe Disciple Silence instead. Solid card. Because, the 2 play point 2/2 body, if Buffalo Bones saw 3 of consistent play, it was in large part because Shadow lacked power or just quality 2. So this is a quality 2 and it leads into a quality 3. So again, pretty good card. I think it's definitely at that 3 level. I would go as far to say 3.25 level, because it's not quite it would have the amulet would have to be a bit more substantial maybe for it to be added to 3.5, but this is definitely a quality card. And I think the biggest issue with Deadly Dreamer is going to come down to the meta, right? If we're in a very even aggressive or an unforgiving meta, then this card may be a bit too difficult, especially because if you don't get it out on 2 and it doesn't die, then it can become kind of hard to tempo out a 3-mana ghost, right? Even if the ghost goes into your later game. And then not to mention, it also could take up board space, and the ghost can get banished if you try to go wide. So this as a 2 onto 3 package is quite significant, but the second you kind of dip down from that, we are looking at a bit more of a difficulty of play. Next up, we have Fantasmal Core. Exciting hinterland support. A 3 play point amulet. Fanfare enhance 7 recover an evolution point. During your turn, when an allied follower evolves, gain 10 shadows and banish this amulet. So Fantasmal Core is a very interesting card for rotation because we don't really use shadows in rotation. A lot of the cards, I think some of the higher ones are Tartarus and Nicola. But for the most part, Shadow Source kind of a low end use resource. We don't really touch them a lot. So, and for the rotation, this will be a very interesting type of card. Like if you want to play it, like even cards like Baleful or maybe even like a Nicola Finisher will prompt the use of playing Phantasmal Core. But it does kind of question, you know, what type of meta will we be in when we're able to play a 3-drop, do nothing. That's worse than Deep Dream, by the way. And just to gain those 10 shadows. Now, this would work in a slow meta. This would work in a meta where you're trying to guarantee Baleful. This will work in a meta where you're trying to guarantee a Nicola Finisher. But this is unfortunately, it's very meta dependent. However, regardless of the meta, this card will see niche play in Hinterland. A rotational Hinterland has kind of always been a meme, but Fantasmal Core could definitely help it get up to the slightly maybe like tier 4 status where it's like possible to see play and it's not completely garbage. That being said, in Unlimited, this card is kind of scary, right? Right now, for PTP Shadow, is not necessarily been struggling, but you really need the, I think, Haunted Graveyard Amulet on 2, where if you do the math, Phantasmal Core pretty much has the same shadow outcome, and it's a lot more efficient at the shadow outcome than the other amulet is. So I think this card will definitely see play in Unlimited PTP Shadow, and on rotation, it will 100% see play in at least Hinterland, and obviously if we're lucky with the slow enough meta, Phantasmal Core will probably see play in like as a 1 of or a 2 of in main Shadow to guarantee those types of lethals. So overall, I think this card gets a 3 in terms of it. Like this is kind of a weird card to review because it will see play in Hinterland, but Hinterland, like, you know, has kind of always been a weird archetype. So we're mainly looking at like a 2.75 ish. Like this is, you know, it's able to see play in the correct meta, but it will always see play in Hinterland. So makes it kind of easy. Robo Zombie, 5 play point 25 Rush Bane. So Shadow has gotten a variety of pretty low tier Bane followers in the past expansions. That being said, Robo Zombie kind of is here to change things up. At a 2/5 stat line is pretty sweet for a Bane minion. It means it's pretty tanky, and it is a good chance of running into something and not dying. So you have the option of saving an evolve. But obviously the main synergy, without spoiling too much, is with Fleeting Joy, right? So in that regards, how good is Robo Zombie? I think Robo Zombie's definitely playable. I think if you're running a mech Shadow, which I think is actually quite likely, Robo Zombie would be a great Fleeting Joy pull, like, because you get access to 4 followers, so Robo Zombie, Bone Drone, Techno Lord, and then the Gold 6/6 Ward are all great options. Like that registry alone would be a really powerful 9. Then also you get guaranteed of killing at least one thing. So overall, pretty sweet. I think this card, like I've said before, will see play. It will kind of depend a bit on the meta, especially because there's a lot of competition for 5. But being able to be pulled out is, again, pretty sweet. And then on top of it, the Rush Bane makes you also able to cheat and evolve if you really have to. I think Robo Zombie is a 2.5 or 2.75, my bad, in the sense that it's on the cusp of like seeing play consistently, but I think it will probably see play. Like 2.75 is really the probably see play, because it's definitely able to with Aenea and other synergies, but it still really depends on what we're taking a look at in the meta. So, but still, like, again, this is what we've seen so far, is all of these are pretty quality cards. Like when you compare the floor and the ceiling of this set thus far, even thus far, to the other, it's like a lot of these cards are getting compared to Zealot of Silence, right? Which or or Death's Mistress, and like cards that that were just always a little awkward or really difficult. Whereas like even this has obvious synergy, and this could even see play. So next up, Death Guard. Pretty spicy card here. 1 play point. Give an allied follower the following effect. The next time damage dealt to this follower, reduce that damage to 0. This is Lyria. And then enhance 4. Give that to all allied followers instead, or give that effect. So Death Guard is a really interesting card because in some metas this card will be great. In other metas this card is kind of shitty. That being said, though, Death Guard I think will always see at least a little bit of niche use because it's like as long as there's like a AoE cards like even like Lashena or even like the Technomancer Accelerate, right? Death Guard can be pretty crucial in giving all your followers an extra hit. Now, obviously, I think the biggest application of Death Guard is on a card we'll be talking about in a bit, Sierius, right? If you play Sierius on 6, you evolve it, and then obviously after trading, you give it Death Guard. This becomes an incredibly hard follower to remove because if you notice one thing about Lyria is usually you do the low damage first, like usually you'll do like a 1 ping to get off the Death Guard or the Lyria effect, the Divine Shield effect, and then you do all the damage. The issue is with when you have Sierius is her clash will always happen before the Death Guard gets removed. So what needs to happen is you need to play a follower with like a ping last words, or you need to play something of that quality, and then you need to play a follower who can kill her while also taking 3 damage. So Death Guard I think is a pretty cool synergy card, and you know honestly, while it is very meta dependent, it's definitely able to see play. So I think Death Guard is actually just a 3. It is able to see play, and I think it will see play in that type of environment with Arcus, right? Now, it's hard to, because like the only thing about this card though is giving it a 3 is a bit optimistic, because the reason why I'd say right now this card would be great because Lashena is an awful matchup. We don't know where Portal will be, so like with a lot of these cards, since they are kind of I guess not necessarily reactive, but kind of control and slower cards, it does depend on where the meta is at. But nonetheless, still a good card. Still still an interesting and pretty powerful card potentially. Baleful Necromancer. This card has put me through the ringer. Everything from trying to theorycraft and try to get a Baleful deck going. Long story short, I don't think Baleful's that bad. I think Baleful's actually quite good. So 8 play points, 6/6, Necromancy 12, reanimate XYZ, XYZ equal 12 split randomly. So the average of this is looking at 3, 4, 5. Like it's looking in the 3 to 6 range, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. So the idea is that if you can kind of Memphis jerry rig it, you'll always be able to get high or pretty high quality followers, even for the pricey Necromancy 12, right? So like we're looking at if you run Disciple of Silence for 3. For 4, you have the Roly Polies from Aenea. 5, you have Sierius, and then 6, you have Aenea herself. That is actually a really high quality board state you can produce, right? So if you hit 6/3/3, you get Baleful plus a 1/4 plus a 1/4 plus a 2/2 plus a 3/3, and 3 of those followers have wards. So that right there is a pretty intense board state, and it leads up into a fantastic fleeting joy. So, and then of course if you can always hit Bone Drone as well, which is a 4-mana 4/4, which is also good. So the biggest issue with Baleful first is he is pretty costly, meaning that he'll sit and brick your hand. And of course the Necromancy 12, because if you don't have that 12 Necromancy, it's going to just do nothing. It's an 8 play point, 6/6 do nothing. So that's pretty rough. That being said, again, you're not running this in an Arcus deck, you're running this in a specified Baleful deck, or you're running this in a deck where you can like skip Fron so you can hit like you're running this probably in a deck where you're going to be playing a card such as Soulsteel. But beyond that, I think people give this card a lot of shit because it says random. But the thing about random is truth education, and you know, like even like Arthur, it's like random is only as random as you want to make it be. So overall, as people are gonna give Baleful like shit, I think his card's actually playable. So I would say at least a 2.75 up to a 3. I think people like it's definitely above the will see play, and for me like a 2.7 is like a tech. So it's really like kind of approaching that will see play situation. And honestly, again, it could be easily a 3. It really depends on the meta, and also depends on how consistent this is. So this is kind of a really unfortunate card that I get to slap with the playtest sticker, right? Like any review I give it is not going to be adequate, because it just comes down to playtesting, comes down to how awkward is not playing Thrawn, and how fine is playing Disciple of Silence instead. It's like little substitutes like that overall accumulate into Baleful Necromancer's value. But I would say, in theory, this card can definitely be a 3. Definitely a will see play, not a bad card. And even straight up, this is not a bad card. It's a unique and interesting card that can be a bit vexing at times, but obviously, you know, that's kind of part of a card game. Next up, we have Sierius, getting down to the legendaries here. 5 play point 1/4. Fanfare, put Eternal Vow into your hand. Clash, deal 3 damage to the enemy follower. At the end of your turn, restore 3 defense to your leader. This is a spicy card, especially because when we take Eternal Vow, which is a 6 play point, subtract 2 from all Shadowcraft followers in your hand, this has some pretty devastating implications. So the first, obviously, is that this is a fantastic reanimate card. If you want to play even like some lower tier spells that reanimate a 5-drop, this is a fantastic example, because you're going to get the 3 heal. You get the Clash, which the Clash, as we all remember, old Sierius was incredibly frustrating to remove. So as much as a 1/4 is not exactly extremely powerful in terms of stat lines, the 3 clashes is impactful, right? A lot of followers are gonna like that 1 extra from 2 to 3 is not as impactful, but it's the idea that you know, it's still a great reanimate target, and especially 3, because it's what I would say is the clash going from 2 to 3, that change is nowhere near as impactful as the heal going from 2 to 3. Because when we take a look at Gray's healing, right, which she has drained, she heals 3 damage, it's nuts, right? For the most part, usually people are like, oh my gosh, like that effectively almost can reset the game a lot of times. So if Sierius is there constantly providing you heal, that's something. Then of course we have Eternal Vow. Now Eternal Vow is one of these really fun cards where you can take a look at exactly how much you can abuse this. So first, if you play this on 6, you can obviously accompany it by playing a couple 2-drops if you want. But the thing that people I think people forget, is that Grimoire also exists. So what you can do is you can set up a pretty weak 6 and lead it into a 7 where you play 0-drop, like 3 0-drops, and Grimoire. Evolve all those followers, right? And now you just got 3 Odin charges, if you are running Odin as well, which is not out of the question. Additionally, this card can work really disgusting with Gil and Elise. This card can work great with Arcus, especially because Arcus takes the original cost of a follower, so if you want to play a 0 play point Nicola, you're still going to get 2 shadows. Only difference is you didn't spend anything on them. So Eternal Vow is a very abusable card. This is almost a very scary card, but unfortunately, Sierius still kind of relies on the meta. If the meta is very aggressive or it's very punishing, Sierius may not be the best option, even with the turn 6 power play of Death Guard. However, that being said, I think Sierius will definitely see play. A card like this is just begging, especially when you have a card like Baleful, and then you even have a lot of defensive cards that support running a potentially punishable card that's very, again, it's very defensive in origin. Like the old Sierius was great because she did one thing really well, and that was play defense. And this Sierius is no question, you know, this comes from the same thread, literally. So I low key, I'm really excited to see this card, and I think this is a definitely powerful out of 3.3. Which, even then, it can be kind of difficult because, like, to me, a 4, the scale is also kind of hard to work with at times because a 3.3 doesn't sound like, oh my gosh, but it really is, I think, at a playable and powerful level. So maybe a 3.5 is a bit more fair. Yeah, we'll leave it somewhere around there. The point is, this is definitely a card that when you open it in a pack, you're going to be happy about it. And then, of course, there's some pretty crazy unlimited implications with this card. You can always combo and get a 2-drop Minith and a 4-drop Deathly Tyrant. So that's fun. But overall, it's exciting to see what type of combos will be coming out. The real question will also be is, can you afford to play a couple 2 play point followers along with Eternal Vow, or is that too slow? Lastly, we have the star of this Shadow expansion, Aenea, Amethyst Rebel. And by the way, when she's animated, she blinks. We got ourselves a blinker. 6 play point, 3/3. If there are no some TLDR version of this, she summons a 2/2 with ward, which we'll talk about in just a second. If the 2/2 is already in play, she's going to give you one of the spells. And at the end of the turn, she will also give you one or the other, right? If a roly-poly is already in play, then she'll give you a spell. If it's not in play, then guess what? She'll give you the roly-poly. So, in other words, this card is always high quality value because if you play it from hand, you're going to get the 2/2 and the spell always, unless you have found an incredible way to suicide your roly-poly. But regardless, though, especially in like a reanimated deck, she'll also be spawning stuff as well. So that's kind of the gist of how this card will play out. The roly-poly is a 4 play point, 2/2, ward, cannot take one of them more damage at a time. And then, of course, Fleeting Joy. Until the start of your next turn, your leader cannot take more than 5 damage at a time, which is great for a lot of those OTK and high power decks. And Enhance 9. Randomly put 4 different Machina followers, excluding Aenea, from your deck into play. So let's just kind of go through each of these. First, Aenea is herself. She's a 6 mana 5/5 body. But the thing is, she also goes wide. And of course, then she can also protect your board. And this is... Aenea and roly-poly go really well together in the sense that this for some classes is not hard to kill. For other classes, this is ridiculously hard to kill, right? Like Dragon is going to have a hard time removing a roly-poly because usually they do single strong applications of damage. So when they have to do it twice over, this is going to become troublesome. And then, of course, the other idea is that when this gets in your revive pool, it's the same thing. So it's not like it's not always just a spell will answer it. They have to do multiple applications to clear this card. So again, this is a very defensive card. And obviously, when you pair with Aenea, the 6 play point 5/5 that goes wide and not necessarily tall, but creates a difficult board state is always juicy, especially if anything sticks on board from the previous turn, because then that stuff can just go face and just be even more powerful. Then, of course, we have Fleeting Joy, which is a pretty terrifying card, because just want to point out, with the Enhanced 9, you still get the top part of it. This does not go away when you Enhance 9. So you get the defensive strategy, and you get this massive dump. Which honestly, the dump is great because what this does is not only to give you a board, it also takes the board from your deck, not your hand, which makes it incredibly awesome because first, you can't draw those cards anymore, and second, your hand doesn't lose value off of playing this. So Fleeting Joy is also a top tier card. Like, this card's great, and it also enables a lot of other cards such as we were saying before, Robo Zombie, to become playable because now you pull it from your deck and you get that Rush Bane, and it's also, you want good value off this card. Like, you can usually hit the 6/6 ward, the in the YouTube reveal stream they did Nicola 6/6 ward, Robo Zombie, and Bone Drone, and that right there is a 4 card, a 4 play point card, an 8 play point card, a 5 play point card, and a 2 play point card, and you can do math. that's a lot of value. That's a lot of value. So Fleeting Joy is great. So all of this being said, Aenea is there's definitely the most powerful Shadowcraft card in the set at a really solid 3.5. This could easily be a 3.7 in my book, or even up to like a 4, right? Now, Aenea is the card that we'll see play regardless of what the meta is. There's no reason not to play this card. Like, you would have to be in a very hard pressed situation to just completely throw out this card. That being said, I think this card will be fantastic and definitely a high power level and high play rate as well. So that was my full review. Like I said, I'm really excited for this expansion because what you notice is there really were no flat 2s. There were no like 1.5s and stuff. And I know the scale can be a bit wonky, but ultimately what I'm trying to say is all these cards, at least in some capacity, are completely playable. They can work. And while they may be a bit wonky at times, such as cards like Ghost Rider and even Bone Drone, if you don't have a good 2 curve, they are still playable. And that's kind of one of the biggest differences with this expansion. There's Shadow got really all playable cards. So overall, super excited. Let me know what your comments and thoughts are, definitely, whether you catch me on stream or in the comments, and I'll see y'all next time.